Yeah, I'm just reviewing the previous example. In the circle area 02, we define one variable, which is radius. And then in this case, we define the radius equals to 5. You can define any numbers because it is integer, then the number should be a natural number. And we are going to make one variable, which is area. This area equals to the radius multiplied by the radius multiplied by 3.14159. So it is a constant. And then, yeah, we are going to print the output. So using these 4 lines, yeah, we can calculate the circle area. Now we can improve our code by defining the variable in proper way. So we have another kind of concept for variable. We call it constant. A constant is a variable whose value cannot be changed once it has been assigned a value. So in Java, you need to put final in front of the data type. So final here, it means you have a value and you will not change the value. For example, pi. So this is a constant. We know that whenever we calculate with pi, the number will be always 3.14159. So we do not need to change. The pi will not change to 3.5. Pi will not change to 5.3. It is always 3.1415. Then we can put final. Here, the final, it can be in any data type. So the data type you already learned, there is integer. Yeah. We can also use double. We can use float. Now let's suppose I have pi, and then I know the pi is this number 3.14159. I can define with the data type double. Why I need to use double? Because it is a real number. Okay, and I put the final in before the data type. The same with this one. For example, I want to define the number of basketball players. How many players for one team in the basketball? We know we have 5. Then it will not be changed. We just use final for the variable size, and we define the data type as integer. So the number will be always 5, and you will not be able to change it. Now let's make this circle area 03. So for the first example in this PowerPoint, I think it's better for you to type by yourself so you can practice how to write your code in Java. Now I'm going to make a new Java file. Okay, so let's try. You can click on this section 02. This is a package. And then you can do the right click on your mouse and you can click new. And then I'm going to create a new class. And in this example, I'm going to make a new class named circle area 03. So the Java class will be circle area 03. And let the other options are the default. And don't forget to click this one. Don't forget to click the public static void main string args. args means arguments. After you finish, then you can just click finish. Now you have a new Java class. And the Java class now is circle area 03. Now let's type. Based on the PowerPoint, okay, we have the final. When we define the final means I have a constant. So the value will not be changed. And I declare the data type, which is double. And now I'm creating a new variable, which is pi. So let's have the pi is 3.14159. If there is no error, then yeah, you can see everything is okay. If you have any error, let's say I don't put the semicolon, then you can see there is a red line. Okay? When you have this red line means there is an error. Now you can define another variable, which is the radius. And then I'm going to assign a value in the radius. And then I'm going to assign a variable area because I'm going to calculate the area. And the area will be the radius multiplied by the radius. And we need to call the 3.14159. How do we call it? We just call the variable name. We just call the pi. And then we can just finish with the semicolon. After you finish with this one, then you can just do the system.out.cleanline and let's print the area. So this is the first the first code in Java, and you can see it is a sequence. Okay, so you will work this, you will run this statement based on the sequence. We will run this one first, and then we will run this, we will run this one, we will run this, and at the end we will print. So you can run, and you can get the result is 78.53975. You can press Ctrl F11 here. When you run, you can press Ctrl F11 to run your Java file, or you can click this one, run circle area 03. So if the editor is now active here, then you can just click run. If you change the tab, okay, here there is a tab. So you can go to another Java file. Okay. Now you can see there are two variables, pi and radius. Okay. Now suppose I'm going to change radius equals to 6. Okay. Let me print radius. What is the result? The radius become 6. But this area is still 78.53975. Why? Okay, we call this is the sequential. Okay, you need to follow the sequence. The first we define pi, and then we define radius. Now radius equals to 5. 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by pi, it will be the area. And now we are changing the value of radius into 6. But what about the area? It is still using the radius equal to 5. That's why the value will not be changed. So when I print out the radius, we will print the new value. The new value is 6. Okay. Now, if I'm going to change pi, let's suppose, okay, just if I want to change to 5.3, what happened? You will see that there is one error message. The error message said that this is final. So you cannot change the value. Once you define this value, you will use this value throughout your code. Okay? So you cannot change again this value. But the radius here, you can change it because you just use the general data type, which is integer. So if you put the final, then the variable will always have the initial value. We call this is the initial value. Okay? When we have the initial value, it will always this number. Okay, now we are going to next step about the operators. We learned already about the mathematical or the arithmetic operators: plus, minus, multiply, division, and modulus. Now we have another operators. We call it the shortcut assignment operators. These shortcut assignment operators, we can just put it as like this one: plus equal, minus equal, multiply equal, division equal, and percent equal. If we put this plus equal, it means we are going to, let's say this is an example, I plus equal 8. This is equivalent with the I equals I plus 8. Okay. So this is a little bit, this is the opposite. When you run the mathematics, when you learn the common mathematics, you will have like 1 plus 1. The equal sign will be on the right. The equal sign will be here and you will get the answer. But in the computer programming, you need to have the goal or the result on the left. The result will be on the left, and then you put the equal sign, and then you give the operators, or you give the mathematical notation. Now, if we have I equals to I plus 8, what does it mean? Let me make a new class, okay? I hope by now you can create your own class. Let's say I make examples 0, 1. Okay, I will make an example 0, 1 and I make a main method here. So let's suppose I have integer and I is the variable name, and I would like to assign I as 0. Now I want to put I plus equal 8. Now I want to print out. I want to print I. What is the value of I? When you run, the result will be 8. How we can get 8? I is originally 0. I start with a value 0. When we have I plus equal 8, it means I or the new value of I will be the old value of I plus 8. What is the old I? The old I is 0. So 0 plus 8, it will be assigned to this variable. Now it will become 8. Okay, so that's how we need to understand the programming language. Okay. When we have minus, so it is also the same. If I put this as minus, then the result will be minus 8. Because I have the I equals to 0 at the first time. Now I'm going to have the I, the new I will be the current I minus 8. So 0 minus 8, it will be minus 8. Okay. That's why the result will be minus 8. The same with this one. Multiply by 8. If I is start with 0, 0 multiplied by 8, it will be 0. Okay. So you can try. If it is multiplied, then the result will be 0. If you change this one into, for example, 1 multiplied by 8, it will be 8. Okay. The same with this one. I equals to I divided by 8. If I use this symbol, I divided by 8, what will be the result? 0.125? 0. Why? Because we have integer. Okay. If you change this value into float, then it will be the real value, 0.125. So different data type will have different result. Okay. And what about the modulus? Okay, the modulus, it will always give you a natural number. So, oh, sorry, this 1%. It will give you always the natural number. For example, 10 divided by 8. What is the remainder? 2. Okay. Because it is an integer value, then when we use float, it will become the decimal number. And the decimal number will be 2.0. Okay. So this is what we call as the shortcut assignment operators. So the variable here will be the same with the variable in this location. We have another operators. We call it increment and decrement. We call it plus plus for the increment, and we call it minus minus for decrement. There are some difference between plus plus and variable plus plus. We call it, this is pre-increment. The expression plus plus for increments var by 1 and evaluates the new value in the var after the increment. So var is the variable. Maybe let's see the example. It will be easier for you to see the example, I guess. Let's suppose I have integer. Okay, let me just make integer. And I have the I equals to 10. What happens if I do I plus plus? The meaning by increment is you add the variable with 1. The I plus plus means I equals to I plus 1. So it is increment. It will increase with 1 value. The initial value is 10 and we do the I plus plus. So the value now becomes 11. What if I do with minus minus? When I do with minus minus, it means the variable I will be minus by 1. So you can get the value is 9. What is the difference if I put the plus plus in front of the variable? Okay. If I run, there is no difference. Plus plus I plus plus. There is no difference. The result is still the same, 11. So what does it mean by pre-increment and post-increment? Now I will give you one example. I have integer I equals to 10. And then I have a new variable, new number, equals to 10 multiplied by I plus plus. What will be the result? I have a new value equals to I multiplied by I plus plus. And I want to print new value. The result will be 100. Why? When I print I plus plus, it becomes 11. But now the new value is 100. 10 multiplied by 10, 100. But 10 multiplied by 11 should be 110. What does it mean by this one? That's what we call as Pos Increment. What you can see here, I will be multiplied with I, and after the multiplication, it will be added by 1. Do you still remember the precedence value? The precedence rules? Multiply should go first, then the plus. Okay, so it will be 10 multiplied by 10 because it is before the plus. And then after I do this multiplication, the new I will be I plus 1. So the sequence will be top to bottom and then left to right. So let's see. If you have this I multiplied by I plus plus, the result is similar with this operation. Okay. So the number 10 will be multiplied with the current I, and then I will be added by 1 after you finish with the multiplication. What if I change this one to plus plus I? So this is very be careful. Why I mentioned it is very be careful? Yeah, I'm going to put this one with parentheses for better explanation later. When you put this one, the result will be 110 because we will do the plus from the variable I, and then it becomes 11, and 11 will be multiplied with the original I. So let's see if I put this one, what happened? It's still 100. So regardless whether it is inside the parenthesis, but the most important is the sequence. Where is the location of the plus plus? Okay. What about if I change this one? Basically, it is just to avoid the confusion because multiply is the precedence rule. Okay. But without the precedence rules, we can still see this plus plus I is adding the variable I by 1, and after that we multiply with I. That's the meaning by pre-increment. We will add before doing the operation. For this one, we will add after some operation. Okay. We call it pos, and we call it this is pre. And this is only for the plus plus and minus minus. There will be no multiply multiply. Okay. So let's say I have to I multiply multiply. Here, no operation like this one. So we have only I plus plus or I minus minus, something like this, or plus plus I or minus minus I. Okay. Okay, I hope you understand this explanation. So when you are doing this statement, it means you are adding I with I plus plus And then after that, you will assign the new I. What is the new I? The new I is already added by this one, and it will be multiplied with the number 10. When you use this increment and decrement operators, it is to make the expression short. It means you do not need to make I equals to I plus 1. However, it can make it complex and difficult to read. So please try to avoid it. Do not make it complicated. So for example, this one. I would like to assign k equals to plus I plus I. It is very complicated to understand, and then it's not easy. Okay. Whether you are going to add the I first by 1 and then you are going to add with another I, it's not easy to run. Maybe we can run in Java, but you cannot have the logic for this one. So please try to avoid some kind of complex expression like this. Okay, that's about the operators. Now we are going to learn data conversion. What does it mean by data conversion? You already learned at least 3 kinds of data type. Okay. You learn about integer, which is a natural number. You learn about double, which is a real number. And you, okay, when we learn from the example, we learn about byte, which is a small range of values of integers. Okay. Now, when we have a number in double, I want to convert it to integer. Is it possible? If I have a data type, or if I have a variable which is double, I want to change it to the integer data type. Is it possible? Actually, yeah, we have the way to convert it. There is a method to change from integer to double, or from double to integer, from one data type to another data type. But this conversion will be able to do from a real number to natural number, or from something what we call integer to character, or we can change from string. Do you still remember string? String is a sequence of character or letter. Okay. We learned maybe last week or a few weeks ago about string. When we have a string, which is a sequence of, string is a sequence of character or letter, we can change the string to numbers. There are at least 2 ways for the data conversion. The first is casting. So type the data type in front of the variable you want to convert. Or the other way is using method converter. So we need to have a method to convert the data. So let's see. We call this is implicit casting. Okay, just delete this one. Double x equal to 3. Okay, so if I have x, if I call x here, then the result will be 3.0. Because I know this is an integer number, but I assign double. The number is integer, but the data type is a real number, double. Okay. That's why the result is 3.0. Now, if I want to change this double into integer, I want to change integer y, for example, from a double. What happened? You can see there is a message, and this one mentioned that you cannot convert from double to integer. There are two ways. The first is you can add cast to int. So if you click this one, casting, it means this real number can be assigned to integer. So by using this casting, I want to say that change 3.0 into integer number. Let me just delete this. So now y is an integer. Even though I define it as 3.0, I want to convert this one from double to integer using casting. We call it this is casting. 3.0, the result is 3. What about 3.9? The result will be 3. Okay. We don't care whether the number is nearby 4 or 3, but we just want to get the integer number. So if you have 3.999999, then the result is still the same 3. Okay. There will be another way if you want to make it into 4, but not now. I will teach you later. Now we have one question here. There's something wrong with this. Let me delete this. What is the error? If you see the error message, yeah, we need to cast it into integer. 5 divided by 2.0. If you still remember, the sequence or the range, okay? If I have 5 multiplied by 2.0, what is the result? 10.0. Double will be always the top priority. Okay. The same with the 5 divided by 2.0. If we have this equation, it means the result will be 2.5. If it is 2.5, then you cannot assign 2.5 into integer. That's why we need to have the casting. and you can just put like the parenthesis like this one. So the result will be 2. Even though we know that the 5 divided by 2.0 is 2 point.